Don't ask me why, but I seem to have accumulated 4 of these guys. I don't know how. Hello my fellows, hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining me for today's video. And if you're new around here, my name is Grace and I love plants. If you clicked on this video, you're probably a Hoya head or you're getting into Hoyas. And I suppose they don't need any introduction. They're one of the more popular types of houseplants in the community at the moment. Today is the day I'll be sharing my entire Hoya collection. I have around about 30 Hoyas in my collection, so it's going to be a long one. So make yourself comfortable, grab a snack or a drink, and let's get started. But before we get started, I do post videos every week, so make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on my future uploads. And without further ado, let's get into it. I've rounded up all my Hoyas right here, and I'm just going to pick them up and talk about them, so they're not going to be in any particular order. Alright, first up is this Hoya Australis Lisa that I got from a plant friend. It says at 21 on Instagram. When I first got this plant, it only came with 2 leaves, but over the course of, I would say, 2 months or so, it started putting out these new growth. It's quite a fast grower and relatively easy to care for as well. It's got this beautiful like watercolor effect on the leaves, and the new growth comes out a bright red, which is super interesting to look at. And yeah, I just can't wait for this one to put out more new growth for me. Next, it's a cutting that I got from Cess as well, and this is a Hoya Curtisii tie. It's kind of potted up really weird at the moment because it's just rooting at different places, so I've kind of just tried to pot it up so that the roots are in the soil, and that's why it looks like this. But I'm actually thinking of propagating it at each node to make it a fuller plant, but we'll see how that goes. I don't want to do too much to it too soon. This is a really gorgeous one. A large full pot of it looks absolutely amazing, and that's what I'll be aiming towards, although it's probably going to take a little bit of time to get there. But these guys are relatively fast growing once they are established, so I'm really hoping that it acclimatizes well and starts putting out new growth for me. I also happen to have the Curtisii Philippines form, and this one I've actually had for close to 2 years now. I did neglect it for a long time because this one just didn't like the environment and couldn't really acclimatize well to my space when I got it. But over time, I feel like it's finally adjusted and it's really liking the environment at the moment. So when I first got it, it's just a tiny little thing. And yeah, in the course of 2 years, it's really starting to trail, and it's looking pretty good. So this is how long it's gotten. Next is this Hoya Heuschkeliana Variegata. I got this around about the same time as the Curtisii, and similar story, it took a little bit of time for it to acclimatize to my space, and it hardly grew for the longest time, but it's starting to trail really nicely now. The new growth on this comes out pink as well, which is really cute, and it's got a really nice pattern in the back as well, which makes it really nice to look at even from the bottom. Next is my Hoya Serpens, and this one actually is not doing too well. When I first got this plant, it was a nice lush pot, but very quickly the vines started to dry out and the leaves started to fall off. So I've moved it into semi-hydro and put it in a rocky mix, and at the moment I think it is still struggling. I think there's only one viable vine, like this one. This one is still healthy, but this one looks like it's on the way out. And this one here as well. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna have to rehab this plant somehow. Maybe put it under a cloche or in a Ziploc bag. But yeah, I'm just would hate to lose this plant. And so if you've got any tips for me, please leave them down in the comments below. Next, I have this Hoya Mathilde Splash. That's a really cute little plant. It's got these really nice splashing on it, and the leaves are so adorable. And all of these are the new growth. It's been growing really nicely for me, and yeah, growing pretty fast as well. And next is this Hoya Mathilde, and this is the regular form. I believe I have shown this in a previous video where I talked all about where I got my pots from, and I'll link it in the cards above and in the description box below if you're interested in that and haven't watched it already. But yeah, this is my Hoya Mathilde, and it is growing absolutely crazy at the moment. There are so many vines, I don't know if you can tell, but there are so many vines poking out. And I did put this on a round trellis. I think it looks pretty adorable. And yeah, it's been acclimatizing to my space pretty well so far. This is another basket of Hoya Mathilde, and this one I got in a giveaway from Hoya Margarita. I'll leave her handle on screen below. It's exactly the same plant, but it's in a trailing growth pattern. I think I'm gonna leave it trailing and enjoy the two different growth pattern on my Hoya Mathildes. Next up is this Hoya Polyneura, also known as the fishtail Hoya. And this is one of my absolute favorites. I got this probably around 2 years ago as well. Same time as when I got my Hoya Heuschkeliana. It doesn't look like it's grown a lot because I have taken lots of cuttings of this plant and I've propagated a few of them. It's actually a really fast grower, and even if you take cuttings from it, it continues to push out new growth really quickly. So yeah, I find that this is a really rewarding Hoya to have in your collection. I also have some propagations to show you guys. I'm gonna end up with so many Hoya Polyneuras. But yeah, these are some propagations that I have made of this plant. Absolutely beautiful leaves here, and it's already starting to put out new growth, so that's really exciting to see. And then I also have some that's currently rooting in water. They root really quickly in my experience, which makes it really easy to propagate. Are you guys enjoying the video so far? If you are, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button, as it really helps out my channel. And while you're at it, tell me if you are a Hoya head and what your favorite Hoyas are in the comments down below. I'd love to know. And let's get back into it. Next, I have this really cute Hoya, and this is a Hoya Neocaledonica. I don't know much about this Hoya. It's quite a recent plant in my collection, but I think the leaves are absolutely adorable. They are a little bit like a heart shape, and it's got a really nice climbing growth pattern as well. There's another YouTuber, I think it's Lisa's Leaves. She's got a nice established specimen of this plant, and I'll link that video down below if you're interested to see what it looks like. And she's also got an amazing Hoya collection, so I think you're gonna really enjoy her video. Alright, next I have this Hoya Brevialata. It's growing in a really interesting growth pattern. One vine is trailing down and the other one is sort of sticking up, which I think is really funny. But this is a really interesting Hoya. The leaves are not flat, it's kind of a little bit rounded, and it's got a really nice shiny waxy texture to it. This is one that is also quite recent to my collection, so I don't have much to say about it except that it's acclimatizing to my environment really well, and I haven't had any issues with it so far. Okay, next in my collection is this Hoya Kentiana. It's just really long and dangly. I got this as a rooted cutting. These ones have lots of peduncles on it, but they're not really doing anything at the moment, but I'm really excited for it to get a little bit more established, and hopefully the peduncles will flower for me. It's also acclimatized really well in my space, and it's even pushing out new growth. So up here you can see that these are new leaves. They are a little bit darker and slimmer in appearance, but I'm really excited to watch these grow. This is another sort of variation of the Hoya Kentiana, but it's the Philippines variety, I believe. I got this also recently around the same time as I got my Hoya Brevialata, and this is what she looks like. Super adorable tiny leaves and really interesting growth pattern as well. So this leaf is more reminiscent of the Kentiana, but these ones here are a little bit more rounded, which I think makes it look like a Variegata. I don't think that it'll continue to look like that. This is a new leaf in my care, and it's a little bit longer and slimmer as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see this plant grow. Next up is this Hoya Potsii, and this is one that I got as a free cutting in one of my orders. I think it was my Hoya Neocaledonica and something else that I got from the same seller, and that seller very kindly threw in this Hoya as well. So this is what she looks like. These are new leaves that was put out in my care, and there is a new growth point here as well. It wasn't really on my radar, but I think it's growing on me. And next is this Hoya Snowball. This is one that I think looks like a Hoya Chelsea, but it doesn't really have the sort of like dimpling that the Chelsea has. This is a close-up of it. It's kind of reminiscent of a Chelsea in the leaf shape, but I think you can tell there's a slight difference. It's put out these two new leaves. That's looking pretty good. And it's got a super long vine, as you can see. And I can see that there are new leaves already, actually, so I'm really excited about that. Alright, next up I've got my Hoya Hindu rope, and this is the Albomarginata variety, meaning that it is the outside variegated version. What I like about this plant is that the new growth comes out a really nice pink color, and it will eventually sort of fade to a cream color. I also have another Hoya Hindu rope, and this is the reverse variegation variety, where the variegation's on the inside of the leaves. I do think that the Hindu ropes are easy care, but they are very slow growers in my opinion. It takes a while for it to start shooting out new vines, and then it takes even longer for the vines to fill out. But I think it's worth it. They are really beautiful in my opinion and very interesting to look at. Alright, next up are my two grassy looking Hoyas, which I am such a huge fan of. And I'm going to start out with this one. This is the Hoya Linearis. I got this 2 years ago and it only had a couple of strands initially. I'll insert a photo of what this looked like when I first got this, but I managed to grow this out and also propagate quite a number of the tips and planted it back in for a fuller look. This is such a fast grower. It's so easy care and so easy to propagate as well. I literally just snip them off and plant it back in the soil, and it roots super easily. I showed this plant in another video last year. I think it must have been around about October or something like that. And I'll link that video above and in the description box below if you're interested to check it out and see what this plant looked like several months ago. The other grassy looking Hoya is none other than the Hoya Retusa. So this is one that I also got around about the same time as my Linearis, but with this one I did overwater it, and in winter last year, it started to yellow heaps and one of the growth points just died out. So this is what I'm left with. And as you can see, some of the leaves are also a little bit yellow. I think it's still trying to recover from overwatering, but there's quite a number of new leaves that are looking a lot healthier and greener, so I have hopes that we can recuperate this one. Next Hoya is one of my absolute favorites at the moment, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably be able to guess what it is because I post updates on this plant almost every other day, and that is the Hoya Macrophylla Albomarginata. So this plant I got as two separate rooted cuttings, so these two leaves back here, and in the course of my care it grew two vines. I think it's looking so adorable right now. They look like little fish tails. This plant I have had on my wish list for a little while because I saw sun-stressed versions of this plant and it stresses so beautifully. Like the leaves turn purple and the veins like pop against that color. But I think Hoya's only sun-stressed like that under grow lights, and I have mine in front of a north-facing window at the moment. It's actually a really fast grower and super rewarding to have in my collection. If you're interested to see the growth updates on this guy, I do have a highlights reel saved on my Instagram, so yeah, check it out if you are interested. Next up is this Hoya Obovata that I got earlier this year. I mentioned in my wishlist video I was in the market for a large established Hoya Obovata, and yeah, I'm so excited to have found one. I believe I did show this as well in my where to find pots video. I have it in a Clay by Tina ceramic pot at the moment. It's not really very stable, so I might move this to a different pot. It's got these really cute round leaves, which I think is super adorable. They look like Mickey Mouse ears. It's really nice and full and lush, and yeah, can't wait for it to push out more new growth for me. Next up is my Hoya Burtoniae. I haven't had this for too long, but it's a little bit fuzzy, which I really enjoy. And what I like about this plant is the color of the leaves. Depending on how much light you give it, the leaves turn a little bit more maroon. And I've seen photos of what this looks like when they are sun stressed as well. The borders get a lot darker. and it makes this plant just look super interesting. And I've also got another variety, and this is called the Hoya honeydew. Very similar in terms of growth pattern and the shape of the leaves, and the leaves are a little bit more fuzzier on this one, I find. Just really love touching these leaves. You can see that the coloration is very different. The burt is a little bit more deeper in color as opposed to the lighter green on the honeydew. And you can also see that the honeydew leaves are slightly larger, although the shape is very similar. Next few are my Hoya Kerrii. I've got quite a number in my collection. So this is a Hoya Kerrii Albomarginata, and this is one that I have most recently got. I saw this on eBay and I just couldn't pass it by because it's just so beautiful. I just think that it's absolutely stunning. Love the growth pattern on this one and also the variegation. It came with two sort of new leaves on this side, but they have since fallen off because I forgot to moisten the sphagnum that it's in, and yeah, it just got too dry and fell off. This is the other Hoya Kerrii that I have in my collection. I did an unboxing of this not too long ago. I'll link the video if you're interested to see what this plant looked like when I first unboxed it, because it has changed quite significantly. There are a number of new leaves in my care, but as you can tell, all the new leaves have grown really wonky. It might be that it's planted up in the medium that it doesn't really enjoy. I remember when I first got this plant, this was in sphagnum, and I planted it up in soil. So I'm wondering if that could be the contributing factor as to why it hasn't really put out nice looking leaves. And I've got another two Hoya Kerrii. Don't ask me why, but I seem to have accumulated 4 of these guys. I don't know how. This was the original Hoya Kerrii that I bought 2 years ago, and it actually came double potted and there wasn't enough space for the new growth, so I decided to separate them. As you can see, some of the new leaves are a little bit warped as well, and like I said, I do believe it's got to do with the medium that I have it in. As you can see, it is potted up in soil and it's not really doing that great. And then this one here as well, there are a lot of like janky leaves that aren't straight. So I'm going to be doing an experiment on these guys just to see how I can get them to grow better in my care. That might be an upcoming care video, so stay tuned for that. If you're not already subscribed, you might want to consider subscribing so you don't miss out on that video. Next, I have another Hoya Kerrii, and this is the reverse Variegata, or the reverse variegation one. As you can see, these have all pretty much reverted. When I first got this plant, it had a really nice variegation, but it has since reverted and it's now all green. However, the new growth does come out with nice variegation. So this was a new leaf that I put out in my care, and this is another one. As you can tell, I really struggle with Hoya Kerrii because the new leaves just don't look very nice when it comes out. If any of you guys know why my Hoya Kerrii are doing this, and if there's anything that I can do to help it produce better looking leaves, do let me know in the comments down below. Any advice from you guys would be greatly appreciated. Last Hoya in my collection is this guy right here. This is probably my most expensive Hoya. It is quite difficult to come by, and this is the Hoya Callistophylla, but I think the specific variety is called the Hoya Kalimantan. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. I am from Southeast Asia and I speak Malay, so I believe that's how you say it. But anyway, so this is what she looks like, and it has this gorgeous veination on the leaves. It's absolutely stunning. I got this not too long ago, so there's not much I can say about it except that it's been quite an easy plant to care for so far, and it's also put out this vine, so I'm hoping that it fills out soon and I can show you what the new leaves look like. And yeah, I'm really excited to watch this one grow in my care. If you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my other collection videos like these two here, so have a look. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Until then, stay mellow, my fellows.